Hey, house guests, I'm Andrea Chu.
And I'm David Belleville.
And we are back to talk about the season finale of Big Brother 26.
What a season it was. It was one for the history books and one of the more entertaining seasons in recent memory.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations to Chelsie, and shout out to Makensy for handing her that $750K on a silver platter.
We'll talk about that for sure.
Mm-hmm. First, just wanted to mention we have been gone for the past several weeks because we are news journalists who live in the Tampa Bay area, so we have been busy covering hurricanes Helene and Milton.
And for any of you who might be recovering right now, know that our thoughts are with you. We live here, we work here, we care so deeply about this Tampa Bay area community, and our hearts and thoughts are with all of those who are recovering and dealing with a difficult time right now.
Yeah, and I hope that both Big Brother and Hey House Guests can kind of serve as a fun, light little escape to buoy people as they recover.
Yeah, and we should mention that Joseph from BB26 is a Tampa native, and he mentioned on finale night that he was impacted by the recent hurricanes, and so our thoughts are also out to Joseph, who was a fan favorite during this season.
Yes. So let's get into it. The last time we talked, we were in Janky World.
Yes, long time ago.
Seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
So, think we're in the Big Brother backyard. T-Core goes home. Makensy wins her 17th HOH. I don't remember the number. There was a double eviction, and we lost Leah and Angela.
And Chelsie won the double eviction HOH, and so in thrilling fashion, she had to make game time decisions, and ultimately, it was Angela who got the boot as the second evictee of the night. And with it, the curtain fell on a memorable cast member in the BB universe. What a legacy she leaves behind.
Leah and Angela, two divas down in one night. Just when I was back on the Angela train, she got evicted. I was like getting a little tired of Makensy and Chelsie thinking that they were running everything. So I was like, you know what? You can't count Angela out.
No, she had a case if she would have made it to finale
So
night.
I was rooting for Leah and Angela to sort of take the power back. But alas, that did not pan out.
And Leah mismanaged some of her power, I think. Ultimately, that led to her being put on the block later on and evicted before Angela on double eviction night. And so, as you alluded to, that kind of left Chelsie and Makensy fighting it out as the last two worthy winners left.
Yeah, I would say Leah and Angela were the only other people who could win competitions who actually could make a case for themselves at the end. Other than that, Kimo and Rubina seem so sweet.
Yeah, great social games.
And would love to hang out with them. But honestly, when you're that far into the game and you haven't done that much, it's hard to make a case for yourself. Same with Cam. Like, what did he do even all season?
No,
he was never even in the conversation. So Makensy and Chelsie pretty much just switched off being in power for that point on.
They ran the game.
Yeah.
They totally took control about halfway through, and really as a team, they dominated. And Cam was just there as wallpaper, and shout out to all his dogs in the crib.
Shout out to my dogs at the crib.
Cam did not provide pretty much any value all season. No matter how much I fought for him to finally do something, he never did, and will go down in history, in my history books, as one of the most disappointing players because I had such high hopes for him.
So much potential.
Just didn't do anything.
Yeah, I was kind of rooting for Makensy and Chelsie to take a shot at each other sooner. They had so many opportunities. They were both HOH 100 times. Chelsie, the double eviction would have been a perfect time for Chelsie to get Makensy out, and she did not. They each had 10 opportunities before finale night to take a shot at each other and almost guarantee themselves a win, and neither of them did that. I was surprised.
But in their defense, between the two of them and Cam, they all did play a very, very loyal game to each other, and that was enough to get them very, very far into the game. For Cam to have done nothing all season, he became this close to winning second place and a pretty lofty cash prize for doing nothing all season. So whatever mix they had, it worked, and as we got into the later stages, it ended up just being the three of them.
Yeah, and even though we weren't able to recap several weeks of the show, it's not like we missed that much.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to something to chew on. So they need to speed up the end of this game. I love Big Brother. That's a given. I'm a huge fan, but always toward the end of the season when there's like 5 or 4 people left, I get kind of bored. I need them to, instead of having a whole week HOH reign, maybe we do 2 days, 3 days, something like that, and just speed it up and get them out of the house. We don't need to be in the house for 90 days. We don't need to see them sitting around and having the same conversations with the same 3 people. Like, let's speed it along. I think the house guests would appreciate that. The viewers would appreciate that. The episode where they sit at the table and reflect on moments from the season, the worst episode of the entire show. They used to do something like this on Survivor, and they got rid of it because it was boring. I don't know if that's why they got rid of it, but we don't need to see that. We all watch the season. We don't need to like look back on the moments like that. I'd rather just see the game getting along on its way. So ditch that, ditch the tiny table where they eat the meal and reflect on the season. Speed it up, get to finale night, and we'll see the winner while we're all still really engaged in it and not just like having a few weeks where we watch them sitting back on the couches and chit-chatting. And that's it. That's something to chew on.
Thank you, Andrea. And now let's get back into finale night.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your front runner going into that final episode?
It had to be Chelsie. I thought she was a strong player literally from the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
She won enough competitions that she had some chops in that realm, but she also just had the best social game and the best strategic game. She was really calling the shots from early on. I don't think I'm like unique in this perspective, but I do think she was the stronger front runner going into it.
Well, I actually sort of disagree with you. And I'm not saying that Chelsie didn't have a valid case to win. She absolutely did and earned it. However, my thought process is that strategy, and I think Chelsie was the best strategist in this game.
For sure.
Strategy gets you to the end, but it doesn't get you in those final 2 chairs. You have to win power, and that guarantees your spot in those final 2 chairs. So going into finale night, with with Makensy being the comp beast that she is, I was confident that she was going to win power, and that's exactly what she did. And I thought it was going to be a no-brainer that if you win that power, you take Cam, who doesn't have a resume to stand on and doesn't have a case to win. So that's why going into it, I thought Makensy was going to take finale night because I liked her chances to win the power, and I thought it was a no-brainer to take Cam, and she didn't. And Go ahead.
By the way, there could have been an argument for either of them. Not for Cam, but for the 2 girls. Either of them could have argued that they were deserving of the win because they both played really strong games. They both would have been deserving if they sold themselves.
And they did it together. It was cool to see that teamwork, and it really worked out great for both of them. Yeah,
so the final HOH competition was, the first part was that kind of claw machine thing where they had to hold on. This was pretty much just like brute strength and endurance.
I had a thought in my head during this competition that like the whole like storyline is that they're saving the world from Ainsley.
Yeah.
And just cut to them like dangling from these like obnoxious contraptions like they're saving the world. I don't know. It's funny how the storyline mixes in with these comps.
Yes, it is. It was a strong theme this season for sure. I thought Cam maybe could have taken this one.
Of course he didn't though.
Not that he was going to win the game ever, but he could have dictated who would win.
Yeah.
Whoever he took with him. But he did not win.
Oh, Cam.
So Chelsie takes the first part, and then the second part was that sort of like maze situation where you have to pull the peg out and then connect the wires. Sort of a puzzle maze.
Makensy flew through this. I mean, comparatively to Cam, who was still way behind when Makensy finished that competition.
It's always funny to hear Cam saying things like, I really need to get this win to add to my resume for the end. I'm like, it's too late.
Yeah, you're going to have like 1 or 2 bullet points if you were to win another comp.
It's too late. Yeah. I guess I don't know what else he would say. Like you have to act like you're still in it, but that was really funny.
Yeah, and these comps, time and time again, he had the opportunities to win one of these things. I won't go down this rabbit hole anymore, but Cam, you really disappointed me.
Do you think he was throwing comps?
No, I mean, I know the conspiracies are out there, but I truly think he was just bad at this game. He's an athlete, not a strategist, and these games, even though they do take a level of athletic ability, it's not the same as playing football.
They're
it's
weird.
Much different.
Yeah, I don't think he was throwing them either. I think he was just bad.
Just bad. That's okay, Cam. That doesn't define you as a person.
Yeah, so then the stakes got a bit higher when it's Chelsie versus Makensy, jury trivia head-to-head situation. They were neck and neck the whole time.
So entertaining.
Until literally the last question.
Yeah. Those comps can sometimes be anticlimactic if someone just kind of starts to run away with it because it's a point system. But that was great live television. As you said, they were neck and neck throughout. The comp was very entertaining to watch. It came down to Makensy beating Chelsie. And so Makensy now has all of the glorious power that you seek on finale night. And the writing was on the wall. She had a clear path to victory. And what did she do? She didn't.
She messed up. She did something insane.
Insane.
And so usually whoever wins the final HOH, I'm like, that really dictates the ending of the game. Here we go. Bing, bang, boom. This is all going to play out. And then when she stands up at the front of the room, she was like, I have played a loyal game up until this point. And I thought she was going to say, but I have to look out for myself in the end. And then she didn't say that. And she said, I'm going to keep being loyal.
Yeah.
That being said, Cam, you're evicted. I was like,
where do you think loyalty fits in to a winner?
I think you can make a case for yourself. Like, your word was strong in the house. You looked after your people until a certain point where you have to look out for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the most important thing in the end.
I also don't think the jury would have held it against her and said, oh, Makensy, now you're no longer a loyal or trustworthy player because you took Cam. I think the exact opposite. I think that they would have looked at her as a loyal player throughout this game, and then at the very end, she made a smart strategic move for herself. So I do think loyalty matters for jury management, but at the end, you're playing for $750,000.
Yeah.
You take a shot.
It's not the name of the game. Like, it can be a point in your column, but Big Brother is about strategy, and, you know, sometimes you have to tell lies or manipulate people to play a good game.
Yeah.
I really think that Makensy thought people will just see her number of competition wins and think that that makes her a stronger player. But she wasn't prepared to defend her game.
She wasn't. And that was really the crux of her argument in her final speech was, I won all of these competitions. I ran the house. I deserve to win. And I'm loyal and a good friend. But it became very clear to Makensy as these final speeches were going on that she made a mistake. You could kind of see it in her face as Chelsie was answering these questions with such thought. Her ability to articulate her strategy really came into play, and that's going to take me to David's Diary Room. On this final edition of David's Diary Room, we are going to talk about the best diary room performer of the season. And there were a lot of good contestants. Honorable mentions, we'll give it to Quinn, we'll give it to Angela, and we'll give it to Tucker. Quinn was a character throughout the season. Love him or hate him, he had a lot of energy, and he made the diary rooms, he made you pay attention. If you weren't watching your TV screen, when Quinn popped up in the diary room, you turned your head to listen because he was likely screaming. Then you had Angela, who used the diary room for the most part to cry. And then Tucker, who was just his naturally goofy, funny self, who every time he was on camera was entertaining, but especially in the diary room. Now, obviously my favorite diary room player is subjective. The way I look at a good diary room moment is if I am able to learn more about your strategy. And I think the best strategist in the game had the best diary room moments in the game. And that is our BB26 winner, Chelsie. Chelsie illustrated her thought process and her strategic thinking so well during all of her diary rooms. The moment that she manipulated Makensy to get out Leah was a major factor, and that's why all of us watching at home knew when Makensy said that she was the mastermind to get out Leah, that it wasn't true, because Makensy didn't use her diary room moments like Chelsie did. Makensy was a comp beast and a winner, and she talked a lot about how her wins were helping her game, but all of her strategic thinking really was coming in a roundabout way from Chelsie, who illustrated her strategy so well, and that's exactly what she did on finale night to guarantee herself the title of BB26 champion.
Thank you, David. Thinking back to these finale speeches and the jury questions, the overall theme of it was that Chelsie focused on her strategy and how she manipulated people as an asset to herself in this game, and Makensy really focused on her loyalty and her comp wins.
Yeah, and you could see in Makensy's face as Chelsie was talking that she was having the realization that she was being manipulated throughout this game. At least that's how I was interpreting it. Because I think she really thought that all of her conversations with Chelsie was like a team. Mm-hmm. They were going at this together. But Chelsie, as I mentioned in her diary rooms, made it very clear that she was looking out for herself and for herself only in the context of the game.
Yeah.
They're truly friends.
I think they're really friends,
but in the context of the game, Makensy was a means to the end for Chelsie, and I don't think Makensy saw it that way.
It really just came down to how they sold themselves. I don't think Makensy was at all prepared for how strong Chelsie was going to come in.
Yeah.
Chelsie was ready to go, was ready to throw Makensy under the bus if need be, and Makensy, I think she thought it was going to be more amicable, and they were both going to be like, we played great games, but whoever wins, like, congrats to them. Yeah. Like, that's not how it went. That's how Makensy said it.
Yes.
She almost conceded in her speech. She said something like, I might not have played as good of a social game as Chelsie. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Just focus on what you did do right and how your social game was good. It's just an opinion. You can sell whatever game you played and say that it deserves the win, but try to sell it.
Yeah. And Chelsie did just that. A fascinating moment that came out of these two speeches, and then the jury was questioning them, was they each had an answer to a question that contradicted each other.
Yep,
and so Makensy said that her greatest strategic feat in this game was eliminating Leah. But if you remember how this week played out when Leah was eliminated, it was Chelsie pulling the strings behind the scenes and playing Puppet Master.
Yeah.
And because getting Leah out was not good for Makensy's game. It was good for Chelsea's game. Makensy could have used Leah to continue furthering her game, and that's not what happened. Chelsie needed Leah out because Leah was throwing Chelsea's name out as a target. So Chelsie came in, not just moments later, and immediately contradicted what Makensy had to say.
Yeah, Makensy said something like, that move was only for me. No one influenced me to do that. That was for my game. And then immediately Chelsie turned around and was like, actually, that was me. I put in the work to convince her that was good for her game, but really it was only good for my game.
And I don't think that this was a situation like Makensy was trying to take credit for anything. I think she genuinely thought that like she had a pivotal role in Leah's elimination, and it was good for her game. Which, in hindsight's always 20/20. I hope that she can look back now and see that was not the case.
Yeah, which it's a testament to how good Chelsie was at this game.
Yep.
Like in really truly convincing Makensy that was the right move for her.
Yeah.
These two, Makensy and Chelsie, kind of going back and forth, reminded me a little bit of Matt and Jag from last year, of how they were allies the whole time. And Matt was not prepared to sell himself like Jag was.
That's such a good comparison.
Jag fully was like, everything you thought you did, it was actually me.
Yeah.
And he was like coming in strong, and Matt was not prepared at all for that. It felt similar.
That is such a good comparison. That is almost exactly how it played out. And so kudos to Chelsie, because she wins unanimously. Even the votes that Makensy thought she had, they all went to Chelsie. What a victory.
Yeah. So well deserved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she joins a very prestigious list of Big Brother players after her win.
Yeah. So I read online somewhere, so like, I don't know if this is exactly true, but it seemed true from my recollection of the show.
All right.
But that Chelsie, Dan Giesling, and Cody Calafiore are the only Big Brother winners who received no eviction votes the entire game and won unanimously.
That's so impressive. I mean, she earned it, and congratulations again, Chelsie. But Makensy was not without making history either.
Yeah, so Makensy won 11 comps, which is also a record, but The other seasons didn't have the AI arena, so you also have to factor that in.
A little bit of an asterisk, but that doesn't take away from her just sheer dominance.
Oh, yeah. She still won like 1 million HOHs, which
Yeah.
everyone else could have done too. So
Yeah.
it's super impressive still.
So that's the recap of finale night.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, congratulations.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out a little bit and talk a little bit more generally because, as we said at the top of the show, this was a season to remember. Big Brother fans have been yearning for a season like this.
Yeah.
A handful of seasons in the recent past have been fairly disappointing and sometimes boring.
Yeah.
And so to have the drama, to have the feuds, to have the competitions and the strategy, and Big Brother came back this year.
Yeah, so the AI theme, we can start with that. It's a little silly, but the thing I liked about it was that it was cohesive the entire time.
Yes.
We knew Ainsley was there the whole time until, rest in peace,
She gone.
Ding Dong, the evil AI robot, is dead.
Bye-bye.
But she was there the whole time. All the competitions were like computer-y themed. It played into the game. It was much stronger of a theme than the like scramble-verse, multiverse thing. I hated that.
Last year's theme,
We won't even
horrible.
talk about it. We won't even talk about it.
Boo. But this year's theme, I questioned it because of its like relevancy to the time. And like in 10 years from now, will this look super outdated? It probably will.
Yeah, whatever.
But to your point, the way that it meshed with the gameplay, it introduced the AI arena.
The best thing to come from this entire season.
And the AI bots that appeared in the living room and the Chen bot that appeared in the living room. It just lended itself to so many twists and turns that didn't feel like pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah, I hope that they keep the AI arena. It obviously won't be called that going forward, but something like that for future seasons, because that really changed the strategy. It changed the gameplay. It didn't make the week as predictable because you didn't know who was going to be on the block at the end. It sort of diminished the power of the HOH. Like, I loved that.
Me
and I
too.
think everyone I've talked to has really liked it too.
Yeah.
Everything I've read.
The unpredictability, but also it led to so many entertaining veto ceremonies because every time the veto was won, the AI arena was a factor in the thought processes to use it.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, it became a historic season on that front too, the most times that the veto was ever used.
I would say every time.
Towards the end, Mackenzie didn't use it.
That was the only time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that just lent itself to so much entertainment and drama. And then you get to eviction night, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think in this vein of talking about how the AI arena played into strategy, we can talk about Tucker and how he was the one who capitalized on that the most.
Yeah.
He flew a little too close to the sun and ended up, sending himself home in that way. But it was so entertaining to watch him like nominate himself to be on the block, knowing that he had the chops to win the AI arena and get himself off at the end. And that earned him the America's Favorite Player.
Yes. The first time Julie said that a non-jury member ever won. So kudos to Tucker. No surprise. One of the most entertaining reality TV stars we've seen in a very long time.
I hope he's on the challenge.
He needs to come back and grace our television screens. But he also introduced new strategies, as you were saying, nominating himself, using the veto and while he's on the block, that you haven't seen in so long. I mean, the introduction of new strategies haven't come into play in years, honestly, because this game has been so established for so long. And so it's just, it almost kind of felt like a new chapter or era in Big Brother because now we're seeing different gameplay. And it paid off. Yeah,
it was the right move. Honestly, last season, BB25, there were entertaining moments and things I really loved about it, but as a whole, that was like nothing compared to this season. And the cast and the gameplay and the strategy we saw and the back and forth, the shift of power, like this was amazing to watch.
Yeah, and the cast, as you said, what a thrilling, fun cast to watch. I mean, Angela provided so many memorable moments.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked about Tucker, but then you've got a guy like Quinn who's loud and obnoxious and a character, but his personality engaged other players so much. And then, obviously Chelsea's strategizing, and then you've got Lisa with the glitter and Brooklyn with the charcuterie board. I mean, there are so many good moments from this season that each cast member to some degree played a part in. Matt and his crazy eyes. I mean, it's just, this is a season you'll remember for a long time and not have to think back on and be like, oh yeah, I guess I do kind of remember that one.
And reflecting on the cast, who would you say was your favorite player of the entire game?
This is a really hard question to answer. I know I went all season playing up Cam, but I was just hoping that I would look like a genius eventually, and I never was. Cam was not my favorite player. He was the most disappointing player.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to give my favorite player to Tucker.
Yeah.
It's that easy. America's favorite house guest. There's a reason for it. I mean, how much fun was he to watch?
Yeah. Someone I really liked was Leah.
Yeah,
I think people
fun.
underestimated her at the beginning. She was kind of floating. She didn't have any strong alliances. And then she started proving that she could win. And I think for a second, people were like, oh, crap. Like, Leah could actually do this. She did, I think, ultimately make a mistake in getting T-Core out, like going after the wrong trio that week. Yep. And she knew it, too. Yep. Like, in her diary room, she was like, I completely regret that, by the way. Like, I shouldn't have done it. But I loved watching her. I think she was really funny, and I'd love to see her again on something else.
Yeah. A dark horse was T-Core. I thought she played a very good strategic game. Obviously, she didn't win much, but just her and Kimo being a duo, I just really enjoyed their chemistry and how they played the game, even though Kimo wasn't very good. Their on-screen presence and how they interacted, they were just delightful to watch.
Yes, and shout out to Angela, special mention.
She should get her own show.
Hate her. I went up and down the whole time, but she was entertaining, and she did mix up the game because she was winning. She wasn't just there as like a court jester. Like she was involved.
She really was. She really was. And so, Andrea Chu, that's Big Brother 26.
It is.
It's over.
So much fun. I had a blast recapping the season with you.
Oh my God, we had a great time. We had laughs. We had disagreements, but it was a fun season to recap. And Big Brother 27 has big shoes to fill.
Yes.
And we will be right here waiting for Big Brother 27 to get underway.
Until next time.
That's Andrea Chu. I'm David Belleville. We'll see you later, house guests.